Establish of bank accounts.
Okay, this is for a first read, and we'll see how the discussion goes tonight with the board, if we want to approve this tonight or not. We need to establish 2 new accounts. The first one is with First American Bank in Riverside. That is where our board accounts are at in regards to our activity accounts. We need to establish a separate account to serve as a pass-through. The idea behind having this account was so that we can open a PayPal account, and what we're going to start trying to pilot, the sooner we can get this implemented for the rest of the winter season, is the use of credit card scanners at our gates. We're noticing a huge increase in the number of spectators that are coming to events and don't have cash on hand. A lot of people use the little things on their phone, either where they Apple Pay or they have their credit or debit card. So we wanted to try to pilot this, and Kristen needs this account so that, why don't you explain a little more?
Yeah, so currently we have a PayPal account, and without tying it to a bank account, it's really cumbersome to get the money, and there are also more fees associated with that. And so I assume that in some way, shape, or form this credit card pilot is going to be successful. I'm sure we'll have to do some tweaks, but I would venture to guess that the pilot is going to go well. And so currently I can't give out any bank account numbers because there's too much money in those accounts, and so should something ever get stolen or get compromised, that would put the district at liability. So by having this account, it would serve through as a pass-through, so the money would never sit in there. So should someone ever get the account number, the district would still be protected. So this is just one of the ways that I think the district would benefit from having this account. I have checked with the auditor about creating an additional account for this purpose, because the money would flow through and either go to a board account or an activity account, depending on what the event was, and the auditor supported this idea.
Kristen, do we get the charge then for every transaction, like a regular credit card charge?
We would get a charge. PayPal, for example, has a 2.8% convenience fee, which is lower than some of the other ones. Like currently for our business office, we use RevTrack because that syncs with our software that we use in the business office, and that has, I believe, a 3% fee.
So then how do schools handle it? I mean, if they're spending $8 and they're doing an $8 swipe and you're paying, I mean, is the fee not important enough for us not to do this? Or are other schools charging a little bit more to cover the fee?
Kristen and I talked about this a little bit. What happens now is probably, I mean, we're using some hypotheticals and assuming, but what happens now is we probably let people into some games. And so the amount of money we'll pick up by just having the ability to either pay cash or swipe your credit card.
Right.
The increase of having those gate fees come in should cover the minimal fees related to the credit card transaction. So we think it would be a benefit for the district.
It's got a good chance to say, be a booster, and then you get gate passes.
Right.
Yeah,
At
well,
least
it's
for
kind of
music
an-
booster and athletic booster, at least you get in for sports.
It's kind of unfortunate. It's a cost of doing business at 3%. And I mean, I have many friends with restaurants, and they spend a lot of money in credit card fees.
Yeah,
And there's no discounts. I mean, it just is the cost of. Unfortunately, that's how the world works.
I mean, I've had other organizations ask me to move to an electronic check to help save them money.
Right.
Well, it says that it's piloting. I mean, how long would we go
Well, that's
before
why
we
we'd like to.
reevaluate?
That's why we'd like to implement this, and we'd like to approve this tonight. If I could have at least 4 board members support this tonight, so that we know we have at least 6 or 8 more between boys basketball, girls basketball. Those are that's one of our bigger draws. So I'd like to see.
Okay.
Well, and I think more and more kids are paying, right, with the Apple Pay right on your phone.
Kids don't walk
the
around
future.
cash.
It's coming around, and I could load my kids' money from home. I mean, this is how it's going to be.
So do we get a
We need
fee
to
for
jump
Apple
aboard.
Pay also, or Google Pay also, if they
We would
use
probably
that?
have to pay them, yes, to transfer the money around.
Yeah,
If
our
it
first
works
step
and we
is
go
to-
to a Venmo or an Apple Pay.
Our
or
first
something.
step is just to be able to have people swipe their cards, right?
Right. I mean, when you get that one on that goes on your iPad and you swipe it, that's not free. You have to pay that bank.
Yeah, so this is a pilot, so then you're gonna gather some data on those numbers. How many people are actually using it, what the fees end up to be, and then you'll report back to us and we can go from there, yeah?
We also have a big feeder tournament coming up in February, and that's one of the big, I mean, we get a huge draw for those, and originally we were looking into if it was it cost effective for the district to put an ATM machine in that athletic area so that when people came with no money, you know, could you defer them to the ATM machine? I met with the First National Bank of Brookfield, and our volume would not be would not be sufficient to justify doing an ATM. But he also recommended having a credit card swipe at the gates because more and more people are not carrying cash, and this would be the right way to, you know.
And this is the only thing going through that account
Correct.
At this point, yeah.
So you said you talked to the auditor and they were comfortable. What do they need at year end now? That they'll need a balance of, you have to show 12 months of zero balance?
Yeah,
Or
and
do they indicate what they're going to need to see?
They did not, but the beauty with PayPal is you can set up different events in there, and so it will be very clear as to what the money is tied to for that event, and so then we'll be able to track from this bank account where we're transferring that amount of money to. So it will be really transparent because we'll set up every separate event. We'll be able to track, and then we'll track whether or not it goes into like boys basketball activity account or boys basketball board account, and so we'll be able to
There's
show
never
all
any
of that.
balance in the bank account itself. It doesn't earn any interest. It only stays.
We
in
do not
PayPal.
plan on keeping a balance. We plan on transferring that money right away. So
Okay, so what's the policy and how quickly we see right away? Is it the next business day?
we need to work through that with PayPal. Right now, with
Okay.
PayPal, what we have is we get that money and we can request a check, and in 2 weeks, they'll send us a check in the mail. So it's really cumbersome, and then there's a fee for the check, and so.
Oh, no, it does not sound ideal right now. I would just like to see what the, and not the turnaround, but just that the policy is buttoned down, that there is a, you know, every 24 hours, every Monday, whatever it is, it makes sense that it gets cleared out. So my guess is from the auditor perspective, they're gonna wanna make sure there's never any interest bearing.
Yeah. You get,
Why would we not, Deanna, why would we want it to be never any interest bearing? Why would that be?
Because it's a pass-through account.
Okay.
And then if you're putting value in the account, then it's impacting the financials.
Okay.
So the idea is just to act as a temporary holding place. I want to make sure it's only temporary and not, oh, there's 13 cents that accrued here and now we've got to account for it
I
somehow.
don't even think PayPal, I mean, I've left money in PayPal and.
No, it's not PayPal.
It's not PayPal, it's a bank
account.
It's a bank account.
Oh, the bank account, I'm sorry.
PayPal will never give you any interest, for
Right.
sure.
I was like,
no, they
PayPal.
charge us
take
money.
money.
Right.
Yes,
2.8%.
Right.
Fees and more fees.
I
Okay.
just would like to see it.
Sorry, I misunderstood.
Yeah, I mean, I
We will
absolutely
work-
support this. I just like to see it fleshed out in terms of how it's going to transpire for the pilots. Maybe at a next meeting, just as the pilot gets kicked off, how it actually will work would be helpful.
Once we get the bank account set up,
Mhm.
then
To
I
answer some
can,
of those
yes,
questions.
I
Thank
can
you.
work with the bank.
The second establishment of account is while meeting with the First National Bank of Brookfield. Mary Ann and I were dealing with a different issue, and so we currently have a scholarship account fund that's set up, and this has been in place since 1984. And the names on the account, only Mary Ann is listed on the account, and then there's previous superintendents, but I'm not listed on the account. The second thing is that it's at a PNC Bank, which is no longer in Riverside. So we thought that this would be a good opportunity to move that account to the First National Bank of Brookfield so that we're doing some banking in both Brookfield and in Riverside. It's only about, it'll be a transfer of like $5,000 or $6,000. The trust, the way it's set up is that Mary Ann receives the check, goes to PNC, deposits the check, and then each year the math department determines the recipients of the Swanson Scholarship. And then Mary Ann has to go and get the checks cut, and they also charge us fees for the checks. And so the Bank of Brookfield will waive those fees for the cost of the checks. So it's just some, it's more just housekeeping and,
Yeah, it seems pretty straightforward and
but according to board policy, we need board approval to open these two accounts.
I'm always in favor.
All right, you want me to read the resolution?
I think, yeah, we gotta make sure we have enough.
So let's pull the board, I mean, do we need to, I think we can vote on this tonight unless there's rejection. What do you thought? Okay.
Okay. The Board of Education, Township High School District 208, Cook County, Illinois approves the resolution to open a bank account for electronic payments as presented in the January 14th, 2020 Board Agenda Packet.
Keep going.
Oh, both of them? Okay, sorry. The Board of Education, Township High School District 208, Cook County, Illinois hereby approves the creation of a bank account at First American Bank in Riverside and the transferring.
First American Bank in Brookfield.
No,
No, that's-
First American Bank in Riverside, and the transferring the account balance for the Swanson Scholarship Fund currently at PNC Bank to the First National Bank of Brookfield as presented in the January 14th, 2020 Board Agenda Packet.
So we need to change that because it does need to be,
No.
No,
it's okay.
that's
It's
correct.
it's
Right.
correct, it's
Okay.
correct as written.
Second.
okay. Roll call.
Ms. Salas?
Yes.
Mr. Durkin?
Yes.
Ms. Ruska?
Yes.
Ms. Sierra?
Yes.
Ms. Turner?
Yes.
Mr. Smithing?
Yes.